So I'm sitting here today putting together a video for what's probably going to be one of the most bearish videos that I have ever put out, because I do see some issues that could be coming down the pipe here, and I think they're going to start coming to fruition in possibly 2025 and 2026. But as I'm reading news articles and researching and trying to put together my thoughts of, how this could possibly go bad in the future for, let's call it the years, again, of 2025, 2026. I'm sitting here doing research, if you want to call reading news articles and headlines research, and I find it very awkward that as soon as I start feeling like there could be some issues in our future for, let's call it the medium-term marketplace, one of the most bearish news organizations out there, the Daily Hive, comes out with this headline that says real estate in Vancouver and Toronto no longer in bubble risk territory. How is this possible? I mean, I'm the guy always sitting here pumping the market because I think home ownership is a great thing, but home ownership and the values of real estate, well, hey, there are for sure ups and downs. And I do believe, and this future video is coming, that 2025-26 could be a bad time in the marketplace. But I can't just ignore this article, so I'm going to go over it here today to find out if we are finally out of the Canadian real estate bubble. And I'm going to do that right after I ask you to subscribe if you would like to stay up to date here on the marketplace and get my ridiculous opinions of what's going on. And for some reason, if you are crazy and agree with some of my opinions, please go ahead and click the like button to help me get this information out to other crazy people just like you and me through the YouTube algorithm. And with that out of the way, let's hop in to this article. As I said, real estate in Vancouver and Toronto no longer in bubble risk territory. Look at that beautiful glass bubble there. All right, let's just read it. A new global real estate report suggests that real estate in Canadian Metro Vancouver and Toronto is finally out of the bubble risk. Published Wednesday, the annual UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index discusses deflating real estate bubbles around the world. Only 2 cities are now on the watch list for the bubble risk category. They are Zurich and Tokyo, down from 9 spots in 2022. Thankfully, no Canadian cities are any longer on the bubble. Then we have a nice little map here. Obviously, red is bad, yellow is not so bad, and green is okay. And I want to look into what those cities exactly are. Between mid-2019 and mid-2022, real prices in Vancouver increased by 25%, by almost 35% in Toronto, while household leverage rose at a fast pace, meaning that the loans that are being taken out versus value were very, very high. It also notes that since mid-2022, real estate markets in these cities have moved closer to balancing, meaning that, yeah, we saw the prices come down dramatically. In some parts of the Fraser Valley here where I am, detached home prices dropped as much as 35% in areas like Mission. And since then, they have come back about halfway, but they have still come down since the peaks of 2022, removing Vancouver and Toronto from bubble risk category to now only overvalued. Now let's pop down here and see who made the list and who's doing what. So they index the cities, probably at a calculation that I'm too silly and stupid to understand, but let's take a look here. So Zurich and Tokyo are in the red at number 1 and 2, risk of being on the bubble. The following are now only quote unquote overvalued. They are Miami, Munich, Frankfurt, Hong Kong, and then Toronto. So Toronto is now in 7th place, apparently. Geneva, Los Angeles, London, Tel Aviv, and now Vancouver down in 12th. And then look at this. If you look at New York and Singapore and Madrid and San Francisco, of all places, well, they are apparently in the green, meaning that they are fair value. Now let's look at the differences from when they did this a year ago to now. Dubai stayed the same. Miami stayed the same. Tokyo stayed the same. New York, Madrid, Singapore, all becoming more affordable, or let's call it, what they're saying is it's dropped into fair value territory, not necessarily more affordable, but they're viewing it as fair value. And both Vancouver drops from bubble territory to overvalued, as did Toronto. So there must be a reason for this. Well, A mix of increasing financing costs and higher mortgage stress test rates tipped the scales, and prices in Vancouver and Toronto have corrected by more than 10% in inflation-adjusted terms since mid-2022. But demand for living in these cities is rising, and the pressure is shifting to the rental market. So basically what they're saying is, sure, values went up and then they came down. And then as inflation and everything else gets worse, the devaluing of the money and then the not increasing cost of real estate actually brings these things back into line. The other cities in bubble areas that they point out, Frankfurt, Munich, Hong Kong, Amsterdam, and Tel Aviv, are now all just overpriced. Sorry, overvalued. And then they go into what I think is probably a little bit unrelated, which is fertility rates dropping as a result of people 20 to 29 years old citing housing costs as being a reason that they're not having kids. I guess inflation is actually making housing, let's not call it more affordable, but it is bringing values back into line, according to these folks. Now, again, I came across this article because I actually see some problems that could be emerging here over the next couple of years. So let me know if you think that the devaluing of money and the absorbent amount of inflation in regards to the devaluing also of real estate prices is actually bringing values a little bit closer to being in line. Or, and I think I already know the answer to this question, if you think that Vancouver and Toronto real estate is still in a bubble. Thank you for subscribing, clicking the like button, and we'll see you in a couple of days with a regularly scheduled video.